Friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma Lefebvre, and today we are going to be painting a poppy field. So let's jump right in and start. Okay, so today we are painting a landscape poppy field in honor of Remembrance Day, which is November 11th in Canada. I believe in the States it's called Veterans Day, where we wear poppies and we reflect on those who fought for us in the war. So today I thought I'd do a really nice poppy landscape piece. So for this, you are going to need watercolor paper. I am using Arches cold press watercolor paper. I think it might be Canson Heritage. I just found it in my room. It's one of the two. It's a cotton paper. I have my Winsor Newton Professional watercolors in my palette. And I also have my Emma Lefebvre Craftimo brushes. I have my mop brush, which we will use for part of the background. I have my size 12, which I'll probably be using for some of the bigger poppies. And then a size 6 and a size 2 round for some of the detail. As well as a pencil. We're going to start off with the pencil and eraser to do some of the poppies, just mark out where some of them are going to be. And then I haven't decided yet, but there's a chance I'm going to use my Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white ink just for some white detail at the end. Possibly, not quite sure yet. If you have white watercolor, white gel pen, white gouache, that will work. And we're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly sketch out some poppies that are going to be in the foreground. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to be filling in the background with the sky color and then the green grass, and I want the red poppies to really pop, and it's hard to put a red watercolor that's transparent over like a green or a blue without it changing the color, and I want it to be like a true red. So we're going to do some loose kind of poppies, and this is not like a detailed, well, it will be detailed but not a realistic landscape. Okay, so there are going to be a lot of side versions of poppies. So let's pretend this is the base of one poppy. Okay, and we're just going to kind of do this like jagged edged fan shape like that. Okay, and then maybe we can have like another part coming over like this. So there's one. Okay, let's do another smaller one here maybe. And they're all like side views. There's a petal. You can have one coming up behind, one coming up out of the side. Fun fact, I just saw my first poppy, actual flower, in person for the first time this past year. I had never actually seen them in anyone's garden, and they actually had a few gardens around me that had them, and it was like pretty cool because like I've always worn a poppy for Remembrance Day, but I'd never actually seen a real one ever, and it was the coolest thing. Okay, so there's one there. You don't really have to draw the stems. You'll know where the stems are going to come out of. Our skyline is going to be about here. If you want to mark it out, you can. You don't have to, but I'm just doing that. You know what? Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm also just kind of planning as I go, so bear with me. So now we're going to do the background. We're going to start with the sky. I have my mop brush or my oval wash, and we're just going to go around this poppy. And I'm actually going to start off with like a light wash of yellow just so we can see. Like a light wash of cadmium yellow. And it's going to be kind of like a sunset almost. And I'm just going to start with some of this yellow and my wash brush. And we're going to wet the whole sky background. You hear a little bit of snoring. Now, as I'm getting up further, the yellow is kind of dissipating, and that's kind of what I want because I'm going to be going with some like blue up here. So I just want to wet the whole background and do some wet on wet for this. You want to make sure that it's not too wet, that if you were to tilt to the side, it would, you know, bleed everywhere or drip. But you want a nice sheen, okay, an even coat. Okay, now I'm going to grab a bit more yellow here. Maybe a bit of orange. And then it's gonna slowly make its way into like a bluish purple sky. So I'm gonna start with like an indigo color and start at the top and slowly bring it down. I don't want them to mix and turn into like a green sky. So you got to be careful. You want to have that kind of lightness in between the two colors. I'm going to wash some of that off. Drag it down. Like that. Might even add like a little bit of pink. I have some, actually now I'm going to switch to my size 12 brush for this, just to get a bit more color on there. Make sure it's nice and wet. I'm going to grab a bit more yellow, make this a bit brighter. And I'm going to keep switching just so it doesn't dry, the sky doesn't dry out. I'm going to grab a bit more pink, like I said. So I have this Opera Rose, which is a pretty bright pink, or I might even just grab my Permanent Rose. Not too much pink. But I kind of want like a wispy sky. I'm going to bring it up into the blue, get a little bit of purple in there. And I'm just doing these like back and forth motions to get these kind of like wispy clouds. We can bring some down into the yellow. And then some back up into the blue, and we'll make it a bit more like purpley. Might have to re-wet some areas. So I've had some people ask me why their paper dries so fast, and there's a few reasons why that happens. It could be the type of paper you're using. So typically non-cotton papers, and it will say on it if it's 100% cotton or not. Non-cotton papers like cellulose paper will tend to dry a lot faster, but also a factor is the climate you are painting in. Right now my office is a little bit hotter, but if you live in a hot climate, like if you're in Florida or even like the Middle East or I don't know, wherever it's hot at the moment, that could also be why your paper is drying so fast. I'm going to bring some of this blue down. Just a little bit. You don't have to do that. Just like a nice sunset. I want a bit more darkness up here. Wash a bit of it off. And then dry it just so you're not dripping water onto it. Like so. Maybe a bit more pink here. And I'm just doing the same kind of stroke, like this back and forth motion. All right? All right. Okay. So there we have our sky. Actually, that's a bit dark up there. I'm just washing and drying off my brush. I'm going to try and move it down a bit, so it blends out a bit. Okay. Oh no, I dropped something. No, no. I don't know if you can see that. Just gonna try and blend it out. It happens. Add a little bit more color. See, it happens to me too. Okay. That's fine. Okay. And then we are going to do some of the green back here. So I want it to be darker at the front and lighter towards the sunset. You might want to wait for it to completely dry so it doesn't, if it bleeds a little bit, that's fine. You know what, we should be okay. Should we be okay? We should be okay. Okay, I'm gonna grab some sap green. Okay, and I'm gonna wet up the whole background going around these poppies with this sap green. I'm not worrying about putting too much color on there right now. I just want to wet it up. And I'm just using the green color so you guys can see a bit better. Just going around those poppies. Okay, and as I get closer to the sky, I'm just going to leave a little white line for now. Let it dry a bit over there before we add some color. Okay. And it's always good to have a wash brush to get these larger areas wet faster. That's why I included it in my set. Okay, so I'm gonna wash that off, leave it there. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of green to my yellow here. So it's like a lighter green. And we're just gonna make it really bright. Might even add some orange in there after. And the further away it is, the lighter it's gonna be in color. And as we come down further, it's gonna be darker green. I'm really hoping this works out because I've never painted this before. Kind of just winging it as we go. So just using my sap green color, bringing it down. You can see the slight difference between that lemon or like limeish kind of green mixed with the, what's it called? The cadmium yellow and the sap green, and then it just turns into more of a pure sap green as we move down. Okay, now I'm going to grab some perylene green, which if you don't have this color, which is totally fine, it's just a really dark green. You can mix your Hooker's Green Dark with dioxazine purple. But I just like this color, so I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to use it. We're going to slowly move it up. You can even make it look like it's kind of like another like separate field if we want. You can do like a little line here and then there's a field back there. Okay, and while it's still wet, I'm going to wash off my brush, dry it, and add a little bit of orange, I think. I have my cadmium orange here. Just a little bit. Wash some of that off. A little bit of yellow. Like that. So it's a little bit lighter towards the back. And then again, I'm just going to keep adding some darker perylene green because I want it to be quite dark down here, just layering it on. Okay. Like so. And then what I might try and do is start to kind of place where some of the stems are going to be. I'm going to wash off my brush a bit. Wash off actually completely, dry it, and then I'm just going to flick some shape so it looks like there's texture. We're going to add some more texture, but we're just going to do it with like a clean brush. Like that, so you get some of those lighter values with a clean brush. Okay, you can even take some of your sap green. And once it dries, we'll do some over too. Just kind of doing a background with that first. See those little bits there? Okay, so I wonder, actually, if we do it. No, okay. Okay, now we're gonna let it completely dry and then we will start layering on top. Okay, so now for this next part, you're gonna need to get a scrap piece of paper. Could be any paper you have. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover the sky because we are gonna be doing little flecks of red to get it in like the little field behind here. You can have some of the flecks here too. Actually, we might wanna grab another piece of paper just to kind of block off here a bit. So we have this area showing where the field is in the background. So we actually, maybe we'll start, let's start with this. No, let's do this part first. Like I said, I'm making this up as I go. Okay, I'm gonna grab my smaller brush. I'm gonna grab some Winsor red, just a really nice bright red. Okay, and I'm just gonna tap. Try not to get it on my shirt because I'm wearing a white shirt for some reason right now. Okay, and if it's okay if it goes on the white poppies because you're not really gonna see that later anyway. It's gonna be covered in red. Oops. No, I wanted it smaller over here. I'm not thinking. It shouldn't have been that small there. What am I thinking? It's all good. I'm gonna cover these little areas back here. Is anyone else's desk covered in paint splatters all the time? Because mine definitely is. Okay, like that. It shouldn't have been there as much. Oh, come on. Okay, it's fine. I'm gonna do some bigger ones over here. Just very loose. Grab my brush and just kind of make it loose over here. Make sure it's not on the sky, right? Okay, we're good. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and make it look a little bit more out of focus just by adding some water around it so it kind of bleeds out. You could have also done this with wet on wet too, but I didn't think beforehand. I might just add some clean water and then just do a little dab of red in there and let it bleed out a little bit like that. We shouldn't have had the dabs there, like the little tiny dabs, but that's okay. You live and you learn. Like that. Okay. And now let's do these bigger poppies. So I'm gonna just take off some of that a little bit, some of the paint a little bit, and I'm gonna go over this poppy with a slightly lighter wash. We're gonna go darker in a minute, but I always start off with a lighter wash. And I'm just using my size 6 brush. Like so. And then I am going to go back in with my brighter red, more pigment, and I'm gonna start doing some lines, kind of coming down, so there's like a little bit of texture. Like so. Okay, and then I'm going to make it a little bit darker too. I have a darker red here I'm going to try, my alizarin crimson, which I'm going to start at the bottom. But we could always add a little bit of black or a little bit of green to your red. Actually, let's try that. I'm going to try a little bit of black to make it darker, like that. Okay, and I'm just going to have some lines coming from the bottom. Really, really light with the tip of your brush. can do some darker parts up there too, but mostly at the bottom. Like so. Might have some on these two. Let's do the next one. Grab some more pigment of the bright red. Do some lines for texture. Let's do it on this one too. They're a little bit smaller, so less time to dry. Or more time to dry. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I hope this works out. It might not. It's okay. This is another spot in the painting. So like I think I explained this before on those 7 bad watercolor habits. It's like, don't throw out your painting. Don't stop midway because it doesn't look right. This is one of those points where I would usually be like, want to stop. I'm like, what? This looks weird. Like, I like the sky. The poppies look weird. I kind of made a mistake with some of the splatters. It's fine. But this is definitely one of those points where I'm like, this does not look the way I wanted it to, so I would consider stopping. But it's important that we don't, and we at least finish it out so we know if it actually worked or not. Because you never know, right? You never know. This might turn out. I haven't done this painting before. Most of these paintings that I've done, recently at least, because I just have no energy anymore to try them a few times, are things that I've been doing for the first time. So I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know. It's all good. Maybe we'll do some detailed little lines after too. Just getting some of that darker. Get a little bit darker in there. Like so. Okay. Looks a little odd. It's okay though. It's all good. Okay, now we're going to do some stems. All right. We're going to do some stems. And I think I'm going to grab some orange. And I'm going to grab some sap green. We're going to do like an orangey stem coming from the sky. Not from the sky, but like the orangey bit. So I'm just going to start with like this stem from our first 3 biggest ones that are like super up close in the foreground. Okay. And then I'm going to start doing some flickly ones. Love my lingo. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like that. We're going to have some coming up here. We're also going to do some darker ones. And then we're going to do some of those like kind of, not wheat, but what is it called? I don't know. Some of these thingies. Okay. And we're going to get some darker stems in there so it looks a little bit more realistic too. Do some smaller ones. Let's get some darker green in there. I'm going to grab my dark perline green. Especially at the bottom here. I feel like we just need to fill up the space. Dark green. You can have some of those like poppies that have not really bloomed yet, so some like kind of curved. Some stems like that. Do it with the lighter, the darker. Some up close. filling it in. Maybe some thicker ones here at the bottom. Okay. Let's do like maybe just like a sap green, just to give it different colors of green in there. Make it look like it's busy. I think I'm also just gonna darken this up a bit. Just adding a little bit of darkness like this with some of the darker green. And then I might try with this brush, just break up the bristles a bit and just give it a little bit of texture. Because there would be more shadows under some of these. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to, well, not lastly, I'm going to do a bit more detail on this, and then maybe we'll add some white. So I'm going to grab my dark red again, so a little bit of black, a little bit of red, a little bit more black. And I'm just going to sharpen up some of these lines a bit at the bottom. That just for a little bit more, and then let's maybe add a little bit of that bleed proof white. I'm just going to grab a little bit of white, and actually, you know what, I might add it to my green here, so it's like a really light green, and I'm going to add it to this, like the three main stems, I think, to make them pop out a bit. Like a stem over here, just a few. Like that. Then we can even just add a little few like white little highlights on the poppies. That, and then I think that's about done. So let's take off our tape. And there is our poppy field landscape. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye!